BS9999, the code of practice for fire safety in the design, management and use of buildings, the concept. Now first of all, can I ask you, have you read the code? Have you read BS9999? Have you applied it in any of your designs? Have you actually downloaded it yet from the website? We've got to be careful. If you do download it, it's 459 pages. Don't press print and just walk away because it'll empty your printer. How would you say you feel about BS9999? In other words, what is the perception of this standard, BS9999? Well, I did a seminar in Manchester, and the head of building control, as soon as I walked in the seminar, the first thing he said to me was, it will be interesting to see how many buildings are actually designed to BS9999. Well, all of them will be. This code is designed for nearly all buildings out there, shops, offices, factories. It's not just for really, really complex buildings, but this is the perception of the standard. People think it's just there for large, complex buildings. It isn't. It's there for most buildings that you design. Architects say we don't get involved in many large projects. It's not just for large projects. If you want to use this code for a small office, you will get advantages which I will cover on the seminar. It's not just for large projects. Small offices, small shops, you want to look at this standard. A building control manager said to me, I thought this was a fire engineering code. Again, this is another misconception of the standard. This is not a fire engineering code. It is a code based on fire engineering principles. It has not been designed for fire engineers. This is not a fire engineering code. It's the principles that are based on fire engineering. Architects say, we will employ a fire engineer. You can if you want, but it's not been designed for that. You don't have to be a fire engineer to use it. Will fire engineers use this standard? Of course they will. It gives them the design flexibility they want without having to apply all the fire engineering principles, going out using Alpere's equations and all these smoke calculations. They don't have to do that. Fire engineers will want to use this standard, but you do not have to be a fire engineer to apply this code. I'm telling you now, this is the most significant piece of fire legislative code for the last 10 years. You do need to know about it, so like I say, it's good that you're actually watching this seminar. This code was introduced in October 2008. It's been available for 18 months, but people aren't using it. And do you know the main reason is? They don't know the benefits. They don't understand the benefits of this code. This code can offer you major benefits in the design of your buildings. It will give your client a more cost-effective design, and that's what I'm going to show you through this presentation. If you're in a supermarket and the fire alarm goes off, what do people do in a supermarket when the fire alarm goes off? What do? Do they run out of there screaming, fire, 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 I'm going to go? No, generally, what do they do? They look around, no one seems to be moving, they carry on shopping. Everyone's fire brigade turn up, they go, oh look, the firemen are here. What do you think the fire brigade are thinking? Get out! And they all go, oh, we'll go to Asda. All I'm getting is they don't panic. Why? They don't perceive they're in danger. Now, it's not always the case. Have you shopped in IKEA? One of my clients was shopping in IKEA, the alarm went off, she said everybody evacuated IKEA immediately. Everyone ran out of the store. With the stuff. They all took the stuff out back to the cars. The manager, you're the manager, 500 people loading the cars with all your stuff, what are you going to do? Not a lot, mate. They lost £50,000 worth of stock. It was a false alarm. Human behaviour in fires. How do people react in offices? This code takes into account the latest research on human behaviour. It does take into account. Now, every year, the fire brigade attend about 500,000 fires. About 20,000 people are injured. About 450 people are killed in fires. But where do people die in fires? Where do they actually die? Well, about 80% of these people die in their own houses. That's why the fire brigade are pushing community fire safety. They're going out there, they're putting smoke alarms in people's houses and giving people advice. That's where people die generally, in their own houses. Have you got a smoke alarm in your house? Do you test it? Yeah? Every week when you cook, when you burn the toast? Do. Test your smoke alarm every week and change the battery. Change your batteries. Get smoke alarms fitted. How many people died in fires in offices last year in the UK? 0. How many people in the last 10 years have died in a fire in an office in the UK? To my knowledge, nobody. Why? Low risk. This standard takes into account risk. And it will let you extend travel distances where it's a low risk. It's risk-based, and that's what this code is. So why have they changed it now then? Why have they changed BS9999? Well, you've moved on from that to that. We know more about fire. This code takes into account what we know about fire. We've taken all the fire engineering principles. There's a lot of fire officers going on degree courses, building controllers doing fire engineering courses, smoke control calculations. This code reflects where we're at now. This code is where we're at. So all the principles on here have come out of BS9999. Somebody's done a lot of work for you and they've put all these principles into this code. But you don't have to be a fire engineer to use it. ADB is based on a bit of old research. This is the latest code out there now. Now, just for example, fire service vehicles. Did you know that fire service vehicles should not have to reverse more than 20 metres from the end of an access road? Why? What? I've driven fire engines for years and I can reverse more than 20 metres. Do you know where this originated from? Horse-driven fire engines. That's where it originated from. Did you know a horse can't reverse more than 20 metres without losing a shoe? Do you have horse-driven fire engines in your borough? If your local fire service have got horse-driven fire engines, I want you to enforce that rigidly. All I'm saying is sometimes, if you look back to the cause and where it came from, it makes you realise that sometimes you can be a bit more flexible if you know. But actually, I would like to point out, though, BS9999 hasn't changed that. They've actually left it at that, because I think they're thinking now, particularly on this particular aspect, it's not a bad travel distance, bad distance. But all I'm trying to point out is now you know that if you've got an issue with this, at least you can go to the fire brigade and say to them, have you got any horse-driven fire engines? No. Would you mind if I extended that to 22 metres? If you've got an issue, at least look at the principles and behind it. Now, why was this code commissioned then? Why was this code commissioned? Well, the principle is buildings are becoming more complex. And the government thinking was they wanted to go away from prescriptive guidance more to performance-based requirements. Based on the performance base of that building, based on the risk. It also has to take into account the regulatory form fire safety order and disability discrimination. In other words, we're getting people in, how are we going to get them out? This is again why this code was commissioned. And there's been a significant number of commercial fires which indicates the need for a more fire safety conscious approach to commercial buildings. So this is one of the main reasons why this code was commissioned. And it was in 1990 there was a review of fire legislation and enforcement by the government, and it identified a large amount of guidance material as a source of widespread complaint from a lot of industries. Why? Why do we need all these different codes? Why can't we have one code on fire safety? And initially the intent with BS9999 was going to be BS9999 Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. That was the initial thinking, which was good thinking. And BS9999 Part 2 was what we're here to talk about today. BS9999 Part 1 was going to replace ADB, and BS9999 Part 3 was going to replace BS797. That was the initial thinking. However, at the time now, they decided to call it BS9999, and this is what we're here today to talk about. Now, in 1998, BSI commissioned consultants to write the draft of a new British standard on precautions in case of fire. And like I say, the idea was to consolidate all existing guidance into one document that can be applied to all buildings, all buildings. However, at present, you can't use BS9999 on transport termini and medical care. Now, this has already caused contention. What is medical care? Well, anything the HTM codes apply to, any hospitals, medical care, you can't use this code. Now, I've been asked recently, can you use this on a doctor's surgery? Well, it depends. If it's actual medical care, you can. But a lot of doctors' surgery have a full evacuation strategy, and it's not as though someone's operating on somebody. If the alarm goes off, they all can get out. So in a way, it's not necessarily, you can use them on doctor's surgeries. It depends if it's classified as medical care. In other words, if someone's been anaesthetised or under an operation. So you can't use it on those type of buildings. Now, for years, architects and designers have argued that every building's different and that this should be reflected in the fire safety requirements. Well, that's what this is. This code is a fire risk approach. It meets this requirement. It gives you design flexibility. It gives you design flexibility. Now, people say to me, well, what if something changes? You design a building to BS9999 and something changes. Well, what if someone designs a building to ADB and something changes? What if someone designs it to any code and something changes? Well, I'll tell you what, the person has to do another fire risk assessment. It's affected it. I'll give you an example. I want you to pretend now you're a manager of a posh hotel with 300 guests in it. You're the manager of a hotel with 300 people sleeping in it. Everything's okay, you're the manager, you've got alarms, everything's working okay. You've got a fire risk assessment. I come to you and I say to you, I've just checked the fire panel, it's not working. It's Friday night, 5 o'clock, the alarm has gone down. We've got no alarm in the hotel at all. I've been in touch with the engineer, he's coming out from Germany Monday morning. What do you want me to do? What would you do with that hotel? What would you do? Okay? People say to me, I don't know, what you get this, you do. I'll tell you what you need to do. First of all, you might want some advice. Who are you going to call? And don't think of Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call? I'll tell you what, you ring the fire brigade. They'd give you some advice. What advice would they give you? Well, I know the advice I'd give you, and I'm pretty sure the advice most fire officers would give you. You will have to close the hotel. You can't operate a hotel without a fire alarm system. Now, let's be honest then. How many managers out there of hotels do you think would close the hotel if the fire alarm didn't work? Do you know what I think? Zero. None of them would. Why? Not fire safety. I'll tell you why. Money. What they do is they get all the staff together. This is what I think. They get all the staff together and say, right, you lot, I need you all to be more vigilant. Hey, £6 an hour. How long's that vigilance going to last? I'll be vigilant. £6 an hour. I reckon they'd get a fire watch on. They get people to patrol the hotel. They get people to walk around the hotel. I want you lot to walk around the hotel this weekend and sniff under all the doors. When would you notice a fire in a hotel bedroom? When would you know? What sort of door has a hotel bedroom got? It's a fire door. You wouldn't notice until it's burnt through a fire door. They're all dead in that room. They're the first people you go to prison for. And say you're walking around now and you see smoke under a door. What are you going to do in a hotel? There's no fire alarm. What are you going to do? Run around the corridors, bang on the doors, get out of your bed, get out of your bed. Put yourself in a hotel bedroom. Someone runs past your door, 3 o'clock in the morning, shouting, fire, 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 bang on the door. What would you think? What would you think? Some drunk. All I'm getting is, it's bad enough to evacuate a hotel when you've got a fire alarm. If you haven't got smoke detectors in those rooms and alarms throughout the hotel, if there is a fire, which I agree is unlikely, if there is a fire, what's the consequence? Well, somebody is likely to die. If anybody dies in that hotel, where's that manager going? Where's they going? I'll tell you where they're going. They're going to prison or Thailand. Their choice. That's where they're going. Risk assessment. If something changes, re-risk assess.